Before we get started on the video, I want to give a shout out to my patrons, Shane, aka the Wastelander Reviewer, and Rob, aka Big Knack 007. If you don't know, at the M&K Productions podcast, we have a Patreon where you can donate only $1 a month to help support the podcast. You get specific perks such as early exclusive content, new episodes of news, shout outs, topic requests, podcast requests, review requests, anything you want. So it's links in the bio and Instagram and the link of the video. So yeah, so just check out the Patreon. I want to thank my Patreons for the month, and let's get into the video, shall we?
No matter what happened, I got your back. Baby, that's the facts, yeah. That's the facts, yeah.
Okay, so 2021 wasn't somewhat a slight improvement of 2020. It was kind of like we kind of scraped past it. We still had a lot of stuff happen that just absolutely sucked, but luckily we had a better array of movies to see in some way in open theaters or on HBO Max. Hi, this is Mac from Mac Movie Reviews, and this is my top 10 best films of 2021. Message! At number 10, I have The Eternals. Originally, I was going to put Black Widow at the 10 spot, but I think The Eternals fits this spot perfectly. The Eternals personally, perfectly captured my expectations of the film. Lukewarm and okay. Eternals, while ambitious, just felt like a bit underwhelming a little. It was still a fun watch and helped expand the MCU in the cosmic department, maybe leading into Silver Surfer or Galactus. Message! At number 9, surprisingly, I have Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. This is sort of a guilty pleasure film for me. I'm a sucker for the zombie films, and Zack Snyder going back into his origin genre. His first film being Dawn of the Dead, the remake in 2004, was just a dumb fun ride. I'd say this film showed me that Batista is one of the better wrestlers turned actors working in Hollywood today. And to sum it up, the film is just Dead Rising 2 done right in film form. That's all I can describe Army of the Dead. It's not the perfect film, but it's fun, dumb action. Message! At number 8, I have Zack Snyder's Justice League. Originally, this film was teetering on not even making the list, but thanks to a rewatch, it managed to move a bit higher on this list than I imagined it before, because it was maybe going to be at number 10. Now, I see why people are saying that this film is good, maybe the best DC movie of all time. I highly disagree. Dark Knight, you can never really topple that. But even with this film still would have been given all this praise if the 2017 movie ended up being this one, or would have been the same amount of praise. But that is another discussion for another day. But I'm not saying this film is the best superhero movie ever, like some people are claiming, but it's good as what it wanted to be. Restore Snyder's vision and get his movie into the light. And for what it is, I loved it as an episodic superhero film with an intriguing story and great acting. That's all I see the Snyder Cut of Justice League is. Message! At number 7, I have The Wrath of Man. Along with this film and last year's The Gentleman, I am now a Guy Ritchie fan all the way. Wrath of Man was a film that I enjoyed so much. I watched twice, once in theaters and secondly on Canadian Netflix. Shout out to Surfshark. I feel this may be Jason Statham's best performance from the action, story, and acting. The Wrath of Man is literally a film that I feel flew really under the radar. And just from the trailers, it looks like a generic action film, but it's actually heart and story put into it. And, it's probably one of the most emotional I've ever seen Jason Statham in a role, ever. So, shout out to Guy Ritchie for getting Jason Statham some emotion. Message! At number 6, I'm going to put Nobody. If there's one thing that I'm an absolute sucker for, it would be well-done action films. Some of my favorite action films being The Raid, John Wick movies, Old Boy. And I'm happy to say that Nobody is a great addition to my collection. I had a ton of fun watching this film. Bob Odenkirk, thank God, he's all right. He's doing Better Call Saul now. Has sealed his fate as one of the better actors currently working with this performance. The story was investing and fun to watch, and the action was just plain badass and awesome. One of the better action films that we've had this year.
Message.
So number 5, I'm gonna put the Kingsman, which I recently reviewed on my Instagram page, and if you haven't checked it out, go check it out, link in the description. The Spider-Man review of this film, calling it a bit underwhelming for being a prequel film to one of the better action movies of the 2010s with the Kingsman, and the lackluster but still entertaining sequel, Kingsman Golden Circle. The Kingsman was still an entertaining action film on its own. The action was fun, the acting was great, and the setting of World War I had me invested throughout. That time period is always a fascinating piece of history, and it's always intriguing to see what they're going to do with it. Are they going to go back to the regular route of Kingsman, or will they stick to this new prequel story? And honestly, I wouldn't mind a prequel story kind of blending in into like the new, what we know as the Kingsman now. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, I say Kingsman is definitely, if you're a Kingsman fan, you'll maybe like it.
Message.
At number 4, I got Godzilla vs. Kong. This film is special because it helped kickstart the summer box office numbers, and at one time was the highest grossing film of 2021. Not anymore. Taking all of the positive elements from the previous MonsterVerse films, such as Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters, combined that and just made a big summer blockbuster, and that's all we needed to begin the year. And besides some lackluster elements from the story, the visuals and fights in this film more than make up for them. And when I say fights, I mean Godzilla vs. Kong, they throw down. We're talking about like Tyson versus Holyfield, Frazier versus Ali. Like, this is literally like two titans fighting it out in the city, and it's crazy. Like, the fight sequences in this film are maybe one of the best monster action sequences I've seen in a while. So yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong, Sellen's at number 4.
Message.
Now we get into the top 3. At number 3, I have In the Heights. So considering how I haven't seen West Side Story and I'm not really kind of invested in, maybe not planning on seeing that, I decided to put In the Heights. In the Heights was a film that I really had no expectation for. I'm not really a musical guy. The only musical I really like is Rent, and that's really all that and High School Musical is the only two I have expectations for. So when I went into In the Heights, I didn't really think about what this film had to offer, and when I watched it, I found myself being entertained, invested, and having fun with it. The acting was great, well, so for some parts, and I liked the songs, although I did drag on a bit with the songs, and the story kind of dragged on a bit, and the whole controversy with Lin-Manuel Miranda not having a lot of dark-skinned Latino people. Otherwise, In the Heights was actually a very fun film, and I feel like that fans of Hamilton will definitely want to check this out, because I know a lot of Hamilton people are like, oh, this isn't better than Hamilton. This is In the Heights. This is better than Hamilton. I'm like, well, no, I don't think it's trying to be. I think it's trying to stand out on its own, and I think In the Heights does a good job. I'm sad it didn't really get a lot of award recognition.
Message.
At number 2, I got SpiderMan No Way Home. So this is probably going to be number 1 in a lot of people's lists, but I don't care. There was another film I felt that was better than this. Purely from spectacle standpoint, this will probably be number 1, but I'm judging these films as films I enjoyed as a technical level, with the acting, performances, the visuals, story, everything. And I'm not saying that Spider-Man like at all is a bad film. I just thought that once you got over the fact that this is probably one of the most hyped up superhero movies in the last couple of years, it's a good film. It's like the first Avengers film. It was definitely ambitious. It's one of the Spider-Man movies where you really have to go see it in theaters. This is just a big deal and everything, and I had a lot of fun. This is probably the first fun theater experience I've had during this pandemic era, and the most packed I've seen a theater in a couple months during pandemic. Who knows what's going to happen in 2022 with this whole the variant, freaking Optimus Prime variant or something, but it was good to see Spider-Man on the big screen not get delayed. I highly recommend you check out Spider-Man No Way Home in theaters. Tom Holland probably gives the best performance out of the whole trilogy in this film, and I'm hoping that they bring him back for another trilogy to go around. Let's get him back to do more in the MCU and take elements from the story and let it affect the MCU in total. So I don't want to go into it too much detail because of little spoilers, but yeah, let's just move on to number 1.
Message.
And number 1, I have Judas and the Black Messiah. So this was a film that I saw the trailers for, and I just didn't know if I was gonna like it. It was kind of like one of those, oh, probably cut out, it's just it's February, it's like a based on true story type thing. So I just thought nothing of it. So then I saw the trailer, and then everything interested. So the night it premiered back in February of this year, HBO Max was on 3 a.m. So I said, you know what, screw it. I put it on, and I ended up getting fascinated and entertained throughout. It's a very emotional, gripping, historical piece of like filmmaking right here. I'm a history buff, and the story of Fred Hampton is probably one of the most tragic tales I've ever like got the chance to watch and learn about. Because after I watched Judas and the Black Messiah, I did a bunch of research, and the story is just so intriguing. The performances were just amazing. Daniel Kaluuya as Fred Hampton was great. Lakeith Stanfield as pretty much Judas, that's in the poster, he was really awesome too. They definitely have great chemistry. They were both bouncing off each other really well. But Daniel really shows his acting chops. He's definitely come a long way from being like a side character in Sicario to being kind of a A-list player now in Hollywood. And I'm so happy for him. This movie is just so awesome. And the soundtrack, oh my gosh, that soundtrack with Fight For You by Her, I really hope it wins at the Grammys. If not, I'm going to be pissed off. And it's like, if you're a fan of like history, Judas and the Black Messiah is definitely a film that just, you need to watch it by any means necessary. Like, I don't care if you like history or you like performances, this is the film for you. And the story was just magnificent too. And that's why Judas and the Black Messiah is my number one best movie of 2021.